All right, hello, welcome to this video. Thanks so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I want to just go into a little flow with the guides. It's full moon right now, and I'm just really curious to see if I can hone in on these energies without going all over the place. I doubt it, but feel free to join me in feeling these energies as well. I'm just going to go into a state where I kind of open and see what the universe has to share right now and share it with you guys. So thanks for tuning in. All right, some of this is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood on a linear basis, but we'll see what comes through just for fun. All right, so I'm going to do some toning. Whenever you make, oh, yawning, we're moving some energy. So whenever I do energy work, I get the yawns, I get the energy burps. Sometimes I cough and it just moves that energy around in the body. But also when we make certain sounds, if you've ever done Qigong, I invite and encourage everybody to try Qigong if you haven't tried it. There's certain sounds that they make in Qigong that are associated with opening certain parts of the body and the heart and the ears and the lungs and all of the above. So I did not know this. I was already making those. Sometimes you might feel called to just make a certain om or ah or ee. I mean, it just depends on what you're feeling in the moment. Obviously, if you can and you're not sitting in front of a crowd of people giving a speech or something, it might not be the best time to make those sounds. But sometimes the body just knows what it needs at that moment. And these sounds produce a frequency, a vibration. I know frequency and vibration are different things, but really everything is frequency and vibration. So it creates a signature, essentially, that carries waves of energy, we'll call it, throughout the body that releases, I'm in flow right now, by the way, that releases endorphins in many cases. And these endorphins can signal other energies within the body to harmonize with it, to duplicate, to accentuate, to bring in a fuller state of presence, and allows for certain chemicals to exchange with each other. And this seems hard to believe just from making a little sound, but it is something that all of our ancestors knew about. We just haven't necessarily been taught, especially in Western culture. But this is why so many times we sing, in Western culture, hymns in church, and that is a level of frequency that makes you feel good, essentially. And sometimes these sounds can break through certain blockages in the body, and hence the term sound healing. And that's another way of we could call it that. So some light language as well. Same thing with light language. It's from the it's in our ancestry, we could call it, our DNA. Yu oasha ekima akayene ki ash ikai oahane. Oawa a titikai neha oaha yishine. Nukuehe shikuaha inikiahe. Diaho o shukuye na ak ayash ukuna. You can tune along with me if you want. This is meant to be felt, not necessarily understood. The body knows. Shuye ke makai ish ikia. Niahak umakai de ish ikikai en ekuahai. Eahash ukuye enahai kik esh imakune. Nia shukuye awahai ishi. Iaku anaheshi. Kia ha ish unake I na Iowa hai ishia. Kyo. Shukoye he makai e shinike. Dia shikua. I'm not sure how that sounded on the microphone. E shukua ene hekia. Ia shukue am akai ne et ishtu kaine. Nia ku esh enahakiaya. It ik ushine ba uk uha esh uan akua. Just focusing on the breath. As we make certain sounds and frequencies, we expand our own frequency. We send out a signal, and this signal can be felt. It can be seen in the other planes of existence, hidden in plain sight, if you will. For we are not able necessarily to perceive these signals within the human template structure or the way in which the human organizes its understanding of the structure of reality. Yet those that are beyond this planes of existence can see. They can see more than we can see. So we are being invited to see more through this weaving, if you will, of interdimensional frequency exchange as we open to the portals that are being accessed and exchanged with, played with, accessed more and more. For as the frequencies combine, they have opened many doors. These doors unlock within themselves channels, if you will, channels and duplicate formats that allow us to converge, merge, and send out more harmonious frequencies that allow us to combine with more harmonious frequencies. I'm seeing like open doors, duplication, but then shifting those duplicate energies into something a little more structurally sound. And that's a play on words, meaning the energies have increased. Therefore, the frequency and vibration has changed and has become more sound, right? It's got more, I'm hearing curvature to it. Like there's this flow to it. And it's creating a natural foundation that can be almost the sense of serenity in some, that some can feel it as if it's like stability and serenity. Some people aren't sure how to respond to this, for they're used to feeling, I'm going to name off some words that people are used to feeling: insecure, inadequate, unstable, not sure where they should step next, not sure because of, in part, because of the parts that we have played. I'm seeing parts coming back into wholeness and unification rather than separation. Also, the parts that we are watching others play out can sometimes make us feel full of fear and doubt, for it is a reflection of our own inner landscape, one might say. And many of us have, let's say, changed. We are not playing with this energy in the same way. And so what I'm basically being shown, without totally going into flow about this in words, in simplicity, is that we're used to behaving in a particular manner. We feel like something is going on, so we should be. It's really strange. I feel like I should be nervous, or I feel like this should make me feel insecure, but it's not. And so that can even turn up feelings of self-doubt, and it can kind of complicate the way in which we interact with our reality, because we're not really sure how it is that we're interacting with our reality anymore, because some of the ways we're used to behaving no longer feel natural to us. Because in reality, they were not natural in the first place. They were habits that were learned as survival mechanisms and as response mechanisms to what was being, I'm hearing like a symphony, let's say, that's being played, an orchestra, but I'm hearing orchestration. So certain events were orchestrated for us to then respond to those events that give us a perception, or we feel a perception of fear that sends out a signal that proliferates, is what I'm hearing. And so what's happened is the frequencies that we're conducting with and through and as part of through me and you as a human have now shifted in such a great, the words that were coming through the other day and they're coming through again are veracity and velocity and speed. So things are happening and shifting so quickly that something we might have been angry over or regretful over or whatever, we don't hang on to it necessarily for as long. Or maybe it doesn't even impact us at all in the same way that we feel like it should. So we're really being called to loosen our grip on that need to find our footing, because in the same way. So sometimes we look for things to continue to bring us the same feelings that we used to have, because those feelings were something we're used to having. And when we don't have them, or we don't have them as often or as frequently, it can make us feel a little confused and a little out of sorts. And so it takes, what I'm hearing is some adjusting. So that's one of the messages that's coming through. So all of us carry a signal. All of us are carrier signals. All of us are carrying a myriad of signals that send out into our platform, if you will, of reality, a way in which we are, it's like a call sign. Anyways, I'm thinking of this old horror movie, Candy Cane. You know the truckers that used to do call signs like on the like, and there's a bunch of old movies, but I'm just hearing like it's call sign, like that's, this is my name. But now it's different, but it always has a specific original blueprint. So we've deviated from those original templates, and now we're coming back to, from what I'm hearing, this original structure that is much more suited for the new reality, that is much more suitable for the reality that we are now, right now, interacting with. It's already here. That's why we feel weird. It's already part of our, we're already playing with it. We're already adapting with it. And so it's not separate from us. It's part of the morphology. I'm hearing the Morpheus, and it's the play on words, a little bit like the Matrix, right? We are, what I'm hearing is we're wedged in to this new template. And so we're in the process of creating a new way of organizing with it. And until we find that organization within ourselves, the organization, origination, template structure, it can feel a little wonky. So we use sound oftentimes to allow us to, I'm seeing sonar, to ping off of something. And as we utilize this own structure, our temple, if you will, as we utilize the crystals within our bodies and I'm hearing photonics and the signature sounds that each and every one of us uniquely vibrates at, through, and shares with the field, one might say, we may feel a different way. We allow ourselves to feel into reality and play with it in a different way. And so we harmonize within this template in a much different structure. So this may appear to some as very appealing, and for others it is not so appealing because they liked the old structure. The old structure felt more sound and regulated. Now we are feeling irregular and off center oftentimes because we are coming back to our original center that many of us were deviated from before, thinking we were on the right track. So let's get back on track, Jack. Ish ukui im ak aihi ish uk umahai ni it ish inik iwai it ish ukui hana. And so these sounds that we make as we share these messages hold within them a density, if you will, a particular frequency pattern that emanates from the residency, play on words. So it's resonance within me, it's resonance from me, it's resonance that I am sharing through this medium or field. And through this field of sound is where it is received, signaled out, sent out, and received. And so all of us are doing this at the same time. We are each sending out messages and signals. We are doing it either consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously, and sometimes all three. So we are being invited to continue to open to this new structure of reality, to not be afraid of what it sounds like, to allow ourselves to sing our own songs of inner freedom and use our voice to resonate with what it is that feels. I'm hearing the song Bring Me a Higher Love. Bring me a higher love. Sure, that was off note, but so it's like keep asking for that higher love of life, of creativity, of abundance, of joyful, of health and well-being. And so I'm also hearing like some people have been afraid to receive this. So it's like they're sending out the signal and then it's coming back to them, but for whatever reason, they're not accepting it. It's like, nope, can't look at that, that isn't real. Or nope, I don't understand that. And so therefore, I'm not going to allow myself to ask or be curious about it. And this is having to do with aha moments and introductions to new things that are positive, that feel, the word that I'm hearing is unreal. And some of that could be sound healing. Some of it could be light language. A lot of people still hear light language and are afraid of it because they don't understand it, or because what I'm hearing is they're off key. They aren't tuned into the same frequency, and this does not allow them to play with that in harmony. It feels off key because usually it's interpreted with the key of fear, and that key of fear doesn't allow us to hear the notes on the proper scale. We're hearing notes slightly off what is that song? The rhythm and the rhyme that you're used to. I look silly. Oh boy. It's a Humpty song, right? And now I'm hearing Humpty Dumpty, right? I mean, granted, that was the rapper Humpty Dumpty, but I'm not claiming to be able to rap at all. But there's something about that, like, the Humpty Dumpty, that they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So that has to do with that broken egg. It has to do with that separation. So there's some people that can't quite, and they may never quite, doesn't mean everybody's going to get light language, to each their own. But it might be whatever, fill in the blanks. It doesn't have to be light language. It can be they don't quite understand the idea of ascension, or the idea of magic is too weird for them. It makes them creeped out, whatever it might be. But they might find themselves really drawn to sound healing with bowls or crystals. Do you see where I'm going with this? Everybody, to a certain degree, that's a play on words. So an angle, right? We all have different angles or angles of perception that we're each coming from, that we're each looking towards, that we're each maneuvering through. And so it's actually beautiful that we're not all the same. So just because somebody else doesn't understand where we're coming from doesn't mean we can't understand where they're coming from. And it doesn't mean that either one has to match up. We can all go on our merry way, but the idea is to be merry about it so that we can create this landscape of inner landscape to outer landscape of abundance and joy and compassion and curiosity and playfulness, and not being in a place where we discredit or discount something as being false or untrue just because we don't understand it. And that is the old structure. That is the old way of doing things. Now, that's not to say I'm not in flow right now. Well, actually, I'm gonna go back into flow. I'm in and out. So it becomes more seamless actually when in sometimes with flow. Sometimes we're in flow and we can get to that point where we're in that state all the time, which is really fun. That's the other thing that's coming up too. A lot of us are going to find ourselves in that state of flow so frequently and so often that it just becomes part of our natural everyday work, meaning walk through life, not necessarily work, but sorry, I went off onto 3 different tangents there, squirrel. But essentially what we're seeing are this seamless interaction where all of a sudden it doesn't matter if that other person doesn't understand where we're coming from. Sorry, I had to get some water and I spilled water on my sweatshirt. So I'm back now. So let's kind of just start in a different kind of line of messages. I think we got that last one kind of cleared up, right? Hopefully. And so as we turn our, I'm hearing a couple different things. I was hearing turn back our clocks, but I'm also hearing like there's something having to do with time here. Wow, that was loud. As we coordinate with new coordinates on our individual map of potentials that are now laid out before us in this new template of energy, we find ourselves matched more frequently with our frequency. It happens faster. We are able to translate in real time and with more efficiency what it is that we are looking for, what it is that we are finding. We find ourselves finding ourselves more and more, and with this comes a sense of joy, a sense of pleasure, a sense of gratitude for as our light bulbs go off, so to speak, or as we feel our answers being answered, we begin to feel with more clarity that we are moving in the right direction. And sometimes that direction may not seem as if it is on the same path that we were so dead set, I'm hearing, like really focused on. And it can seem as if almost instantly we are taken off one track and placed onto another. This can also be challenging because as this happens, we become confused with our coordinates because we had so diligently set it up for success, if you will, in our mind or perhaps in our patterning or the way in which we educated ourselves, so on and so forth. Yet as we operate with a new consistency, a new form of energy is being introduced, and the way in which we work with and operate within our own energy is also being changed, if you will, for we are going through massive changes. And this will take us at some points, in many different points, in order to access more to bring us back to a convergence. So I'm being called to just play with this for a moment. I'm being shown branches. So we're going this direction, and for some of us, we're on a completely different path now. So that other path is gone. We're not going back to it. Other people, there's a back and forth a little bit while some of that old path is closed out and the new path is essentially becomes clearer and clearer. But what I'm being shown is no matter what, we have all these, it's almost like if you, let's say you wanted to learn certain things in life. You said, okay, in your meeting with your guides before you came into this world, you said, I want to learn this, and this. Well, before, in the old time, what I'm hearing, we might have gone through those things in a much longer fashion. I'm being literally shown a runway when I said that. So we might have gone through that in a longer fashion, yet the fashion has changed. So now mid fashion show, we're like, well, that's all gone. So let's try something new. And we're like, well, wait a minute, I wasn't prepped for this. Or what is the audience going to think? I don't know. They're playing with this as an analogy. But what happens is on this new track, right, on this, we're actually being able to try things on and immediately dispose of them if we don't like them, or if we don't respond well to them, or we change our minds, or we immediately are able to say, well, I tried that on, that was a great experience, next. And it won't be like we had to marry that experience and be with it for 10 years and then decide that that wasn't necessarily any longer in our best interest, or our partner's both best interest, obviously. So instead of deciding to go through that, it's hard to explain, but I'm actually seeing like we might dream about it and really feel into it. Or we might go through it with a friend and witness it and become so emotionally empathic. That's not even the right word. We can almost experience it ourselves. And then we don't need to have that experience necessarily. It's hard to explain, but I hope you guys are following what I'm putting down. Like these experiences are gonna present themselves in ways that maybe are more efficient. So, if we still want to have that experience for 10 years, we can, but is that really in our best interest in this faster time period is basically what I'm being shown. So that's interesting. So as we wind down one time zone and we move into this other time zone, we end up gaining more opportunities to shapeshift into new realities and to let go of all of the energies that were at one time holding us back or keeping us in line, where we were rigid and we were not as creative, where we were not able to access our fullest potential. That timeline is something that we are now moving out of. I'm hearing it's a derivative of a collective group of choices as well as individual, but that has changed. So now, what do you want to do? Right? So there's something about that, and it's not. Again, I'm hearing let go of the rigidity, let go of the control. I guess this has kind of been a theme I've been seeing. And when I say that, it's not like go out of control and go. I'm hearing that Prince song, Let's Go Crazy. But I am hearing that it's not necessarily needing to micromanage our reality. We will be offered checkpoints that we can see as like a weigh station where we weigh in and we see if we need to lighten the load or if we need to get rid of the load completely and even change trucks completely. And this will happen again and again, especially during this particular coordination with junctures that are at times elements of surprise. So there's something to this also about the surprise. So they're saying have fun with it. So we might be really surprised at a couple things that come up, whether it's in the collective or in our own lives, where we might go, oh, I never even saw that coming or thought of that. And what they're kind of showing me is like, play with it, be curious. Don't automatically discount it or discredit it because it's not something that we expected. It's like, I'm just seeing like some of these surprises, they offer us an opportunity to try on a new outfit. I keep seeing that fashion thing, like, oh, I never saw that coming. Wonder what that would be like, kind of thing. So it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it gives us a fresh perspective, is what I'm hearing. Like it kind of feels, if we can allow ourselves to be curious and playful at the same time that we're going through this stuff, to as much as we can, it gives us an opportunity to really navigate through what would otherwise potentially seem confusing, overwhelming. I'm just hearing it's fresh. So think of it as that instead of, because everything is shifted slightly. So it's not, yes, there's a lot of old stuff that's coming up. That's for sure. But there's a lot of new stuff coming in. So if we can kind of really open to that new stuff, that old stuff won't have as big of an impact on us. So I'm going to end on that note. I know I covered a lot of bases there, and I always say I'm going to go back and kind of go into these a little deeper, but I don't know if I need to anymore, or if it's relevant anymore. But we'll see what we feel like doing in the future. So in the meantime, have fun, be playful. Yes, there's a lot of stuff going on still, but in the midst of all this, in the misty moonlight, there is a lot of really positive choices that are going to be available to us in the coming days, months, years, that are going to have a very positive impact on the greater picture, if you will. And if we can stay in that alignment through the coherence of the heart, through compassion, non-judgment, and kind of radiate that frequency as often as we can I'm hearing truth and equanimity. Like it doesn't have to be this overwhelming, oh, I'm so happy and joyful and all the time. We're really being called to be honest with ourselves about how we're feeling and present things that way. We don't have to be, I'm just being shown actors on a stage. It doesn't have to be that way. Instead, we can still play. And if we don't feel like playing because we're having a bad day, just be honest about it. We're being called to say, you know what, I'm having a kind of a rough day. Maybe we could try this tomorrow or whatever that might be. So it's just kind of showing up and being available for ourselves, being available for what we do want, and not necessarily just doing things because somebody else wants us to show up that way. Oh, that's a whole other video I can see coming. So in the meantime, love and light, namaste, happy full moon energy.